My name is Emeka Christian. I represent Augustinians International, the permanent delegate to the UN. Your question is very important, and I kind of try to give a concrete face to the goodwill, the whole idea of global commons and the whole idea of connecting the world at large. But I think I want to bring out an element I think we should not always get lost of when we discuss the reality of our dreams. And that is the present structure of the society we live in, which goes back to the whole idea of the UN and its functionality. It is not just new that the money spent on ammunition is higher than what the UN spends. It has been all through history, and it will be the same thing next year, because there is the interrelationship between sovereignty and the global solidarity, which has not made a good connect. Each individual nation is still safeguarding itself. Each individual nation comes to a global agenda with its interests. And if the whole interest is not satisfied, it will contribute less to it. And it goes a long way to strangulate even the attempts of good persons who want to cross their borders. If you check the Article 13 of the Human Rights Declaration, it gives every individual the right to leave your country and to return to it. But there's no way at all, even in later conventions of the human right, that says you have a right to go where you want to go. Yeah. So it is depending on where you go to receive you. Even you are going on volunteer work, even you are going for migration to work, it still depends on that. So even how much we talk about the goodwill of a common world depends on the structure that is still depending on governments. Mm-hmm. So how do we break that shackle and then make what stands out in the preamble of the UN, we the people of the United Nations? I mean, I continue to ask, is it the we referring to those government delegates who were drafting the conference, or we implying the whole people? So these are the questions you have to ask.
Thank you. And regarding facilitating volunteerism and things like this, UNV is quite active also in the field of lobbying for an enabling environment. And I think that Rio +20 is also good for a paradigm shift in this respect, that we see national governments don't have the resources to address sustainable development effectively. And that, as we said yesterday, volunteerism and volunteers, it's the biggest renewable source of energy for sustainable development efforts, and therefore the national governments should really work on providing an enabling environment for this, and Rio could perhaps help in this. Now we think of it.
Thank you. I'll stand here because then I can see everyone. I wanted to do some connecting of the dots. Hello, colleague. I also represent the Association of World Citizens. I'm the UN rep. We've done a lot of work with the Global Commons, and we've done a lot of work with thinking, how does it all fit together, and how can we make governments realize it's so necessary to see all this as one? And so I'd like to just try and connect some of the dots that you made, because governments do have their national perspectives, and therefore they have a limitation. And we as people have to fill that gap by working as a commons to deal with what corporations and governments can't deal with. So the very basis we always bring out when we lobby is to say that every human being and all of nature is interconnected into a global organism. And therefore that means two things. One thing is that we're all world citizens, and the other thing is that we all have to care for every aspect of the commons, because if we harm one aspect, we're harming ourselves, and we're harming our home. So we therefore have the all-win principle, which is all people need to win, but all of nature as well. And in the win-win, nature is left out. So the all-win principle is the second element beside the organism. And the third one is we're all global citizens. We're all cells in the body of this organism. So that brings in the global or the world citizens. The next one is that everyone has to care for our global commons. We have to care for the nature which provides us our home and our nourishment and the beauty and the silence and everything that we need. But we also need to connect with the social commons, everything that's produced by society that we need. And so that's how the global commons actually begins to emerge. And the global commons consists of many local commons, and that's where volunteerism comes in. Because many of us, probably everyone in this room is a volunteer, or very grossly underpaid as an NGO. But, but anyway, so each of us is perhaps a volunteer in many different circles. We're parts, therefore, of different types of global commonses. And we're parts of local circles, we're part also of global circles. Our organization is global. And so also being with the United Nations and connected with governments in that way, if we connect all these circles of our volunteerism, we begin to find that there are circles within circles within circles that connect the global, the local to the global level. And that's how volunteerism actually begins to form a structure which can tie us all together in a new structure which is governed by the people and where people play a complementary role with governments and with corporations. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any further questions? If not so, then I thank all the panelists for your great contributions, and you are welcome.